we are back on a motherfucking podcast. Eto na guys. Ang tagal nyong hiningi sa akin to. 1 year, died. 1 year. 1 year and we're motherfucking back, and this time we are on YouTube. We're gonna be having visuals. Makikita nyo si Uzi from time to time. And guys, ang daming, okay, for those who doesn't know, I used to have a podcast on Spotify. It's called the Good Baddie Podcast. And ang daming nagre-reklamo, girl, wala akong Spotify. Girl, imposibleng wala kang YouTube, day. So we're on YouTube, more chikahan, back on a podcast, so for longer talk contents, and we got the ASMR fucking mic, so mas malutong nyo na naman maririnig yung mga mura ko, putang ina. Ang dami nagsasabi na ASMR daw sa kanila yung mura ko, so here we fucking go. Andito na naman tayo sa podcast, no? For those who doesn't know about the Good Baddie Podcast, I just want to say thank you so much sa lahat ng sumuporta about the Good Baddie Podcast, na hanggang ngayon kahit after 1 year, hinahanap-hanap nyo pa rin sa akin yung the Good Baddie Podcast. And for those who doesn't know about it, it's still on Spotify. It still exists kasi hindi ko siya dinidelete because sometimes I do listen to it. Sometimes I do like to be reminded. I gotta have to remind myself that I'm that bitch. You get what I fucking mean? And I really do love a lot of episodes on that podcast. I love all the episodes. You know, I had some really great episodes on that podcast. I enjoyed talking about some certain topics on that podcast. I think my favorite is talking about cognitive distortions. And I do need to be reminded sometimes about my cognitive distortions. And I enjoyed talking about the topic about our plus size models promoting confidence or just bad health. That was a really good topic. I really enjoyed talking about that, and I love how it turned out. It's very controversial, but I love how the message turned out, and you guys should check it out if you're curious. Kung anong vibe, that was the vibe. But I just want you guys to know that I really do fucking appreciate everyone that supported me on that podcast. Because I think on its first week of release, I was already on the top 50 of the most listened podcast on Spotify Philippines. And I just want to say how much I fucking love y'all. And as much as I know that you guys really love the Good Baddie Podcast, this podcast, just to be fucking clear, is not the Good Baddie Podcast. It is not the Good Baddie Podcast. Because with this podcast, guys, my vision for this podcast is to be very interactive. I'm going to be having segments in this podcast where I'm going to be replying on your comments. So follow me on TikTok. For those sa hindi pa ako kilala, guys, ako po yung kangaroo murderer. I live in Australia. Nakabangga ako ng kangaroo one time, and then bam, everyone fucking discovered me, and sa lahat ng mga tao nakadiscover sa akin, they fucking love me. Ang yabang mo doon, be. So, makses ka eh. Ang taas ko na eh. Tangina. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. But, follow me on TikTok, because every time I upload anything about the podcast on TikTok, I want you guys to comment a hashtag Fennela the podcast, and then your comment that you want me to reply. It could be a topic na gusto mong pag-usapan natin. Like, for example, ate, ano masasay mo dito? Late siya, tapos si ganto hindi nagbaya. Mga ganyong eksena. Or you want to ask me for an advice. Ate, ano masasabi mo, ito pinagdadaanan ko, I will give you an advice. I love giving advice, okay? Kahit ano pa yan, financially, spiritually, bahala ka, tangina mo. Basta, hindi babe, gusto ko challenge nyo ako. Give me the fucking challenge. I actually want to fucking see if I'm able to give an advice na reasonable, you know, and, you know, we can talk about it. And then I'm also going to have a segment where I will be having you guys on my podcast. I will be having you guys to join me on my podcast. And kung tatanong nyo, paano natin gagawin yan? Follow me on my Instagram. If you guys want to know about paano kayo makakasali sa podcast ko where you can talk Follow me on Instagram and I'll tell you how. We're gonna have a segment kung saan tayo ay mag-video call. Because what I love about, pinaka-favorite kong comment about my TikToks is whenever you guys say, sige be, baba ko na, end ko na tong call. Because I love that vibe. I fucking love the fact na parang kakwentuhan. And a lot of you guys say that, na parang kakwentuhan nyo lang ako sa phone. And that's the vibe I want. Ka-video call lang, ganyan ang vibe. So, ganun ang eksena natin, guys. We're just gonna go on call. And you don't have to be seen. You can do an anonymous one. Kung medyo juicy yung chika mo, go be. Huwag ka maglala. Hindi kita ilalaglag. Okay? We can go anonymous if you want. Or we can fucking give you a shout out, plug, what's good. We're gonna be all together in this fucking podcast. It's gonna be very interactive. You know, we can talk about stuff. We can have certain topic. You can share me your story. You can give me advice. You can educate me. Or pwede din naman tayo magdebate. Gusto mo mag-away tayo eh. Tangina to. You know, it's gonna be a vibe. I know that my comedy side really sticks out on TikTok. Pero I want you guys to see this side of me where we can have a stimulating conversation. That is my vibe. I want a very stimulating conversation. Kung sa mga naka-aware about my podcast, about the Good Baddie podcast, you guys get what I fucking mean. And I created some stimulating conversation and topics na pwede mong isipin. But in this podcast, I want a stimulating conversation. I want to be able to talk to you guys. Wait lang, pahipak. Any fucking way, guys. Now, mabalik tayo sa Good Baddie podcast. The reason why I canceled that ang dami nagtatanong eh, ano na nangyari sa podcast mo? Bakit di ka na nag-upload? Ano na be? Isang taon na, wala pa din, kaya this year. Hindi talaga kinaya that year. And I have at least like 4 solid reasons why I canceled the podcast. First is I had a full-time job. Second is it takes so much effort to do the Good Baddie podcast because of its content. And third is I had an issue with the person that offered me the podcast, which is Spotify Philippines, one of the guy. And last is I couldn't be the person that I created in that podcast. I'm not her anymore. Okay? Because with Good Baddie podcast, guys, I created this persona that I'm this Miss Perfect, confident all the time that you guys look up to. But I was going through stuff that I can't live up for it anymore. Do you get what I mean? And also at the same time, the Good Baddie podcast, guys, it was so serious. I actually put so much effort into it. Kasi the topics in Good Baddie podcast, we are talking about depression, we are talking about mental health, and ayokong ibara-bara lang na parang ganito. Na parang kahit walang edit, I actually make scripts for it because I do not want to say the wrong thing. Medyo sensitibo yung mga topic na pinag-uusapan natin sa Good Baddie podcast, and I do not want to fuck it up. I do not want to give the wrong message. Do you get what I mean? So it actually takes a lot of effort to make the Good Baddie podcast, to consistently do that. And then at the same time, I had my full-time job. And to be honest with you, guys, for those who doesn't know, I live in Australia, okay? Doing TikToks in Australia, hindi po siya katulad in the Philippines. A lot of my family members asking me, because I have some couple of, viral videos on TikTok. I have consistent viewers, and my family members are asking like, oh, kumikita ka na ba sa TikTok? Or my friends are like, uy, kumikita ka na sa TikTok, ganyan. No, because it's different. TikTok Australia is different. Philippine TikTok. Wala akong kinikita on TikTok. Everything you see in TikTok is just literally pure passion. I just enjoy being myself. I love the comedy side. I love comedy content, and my whole vibe is literally authentic comedy, real life comedy, and that's not who I portrayed in the Good Baddie podcast. And it got to a point where it just doesn't feel authentic anymore. Though everything I said on that podcast, I mean it, and I listen to it sometimes because I need to be reminded. Do you get what I mean? I don't take it back. Wait lang guys, pahipak. Wait. So I'm putting so much effort into the podcast, right? And it doesn't even feel like me anymore. It actually takes a lot of me to create the podcast. And then the Spotify Philippines reached out to me originally to start that podcast, for those who doesn't know. And yung guy na kausap ko, first of all, I asked him from the start, like, can we talk about, like, paano ko kikita about this? Because, like, yeah, okay, I'm investing in this podcast. Bumili ako ng mic, I'm paying photographers for the shoot. I'm editing shit. I am investing on the podcast. I'm not taking my shifts at work kasi I want to focus on a good quality podcast. So I'm investing in this podcast. So I'm asking, like, when am I gonna profit? And sabi niya lang sa akin, we'll talk about that next time. Let's focus on creating the title, the niche, this and that. So sige, push. And I did all that. And then on the third meeting, I started asking him, hey, look, because, I'm at least at the top 100 most listened podcasts every time I upload. And I'm like, okay, look, we're doing good. So how's the deal with Spotify? Like, how am I going to make profits? And then he said, there's really no revenues or profit on Spotify. And I was a bit disappointed, pero I was still down to continue the podcast because at that point, I really enjoyed it. And it's my passion to do talk content. Like I said, as much as you guys enjoy my comedy side on TikTok, this is a side of me that I'm very passionate about. And I was down to keep doing it. Regardless about the profit, I don't give a fuck. I enjoy it. Pero what made me stop is when I emailed him again. Kasi he told me when we did the podcast, he said, Spotify will support you, put a little adjustment on the algorithm. We will support you editing, this and that, da. You're going to be fully supported by Spotify when you create this podcast. Now, after the meeting about me asking about the profit, after that, I emailed him, a couple after episodes. And girl, I sent an email and the email is fucking user not found or something. Like, I'm fucking blocked. Like, the guy that made me start this podcast blocked me. I just thought that was kind of rude. And I was like, na-turn off ako. And I'm like, you know what? I have this full-time job. I'm just going to focus and be practical. Effort-wise and time-wise, I couldn't afford it. And that's why I canceled the podcast. And another reason why I canceled the podcast is, okay, at that time when I did the Good Baddie podcast, guys, medyo bago pa lang kami ni No Face No Case at that time. Like, I think it was still our first year. We were still on our honeymoon phase, And eto ha, guys. For those who doesn't know, No Face No Case is my partner. He's my boyfriend. And given the name, guys, No Face No Case, I don't show his face. I don't say his name. Our relationship is so private. It's not a secret, but it's very private. So, talking about this, guys, this is probably the most that you would hear about my relationship with No Face No Case. Personally, before No Face No Case, I have gone through a lot of cheating situation in my previous exes. Eto na, guys, tangina. Kung sino man magke-claim na jowa ko siya before, matakot ka. Kasi cheater yan. Putang ina niya. Pasabi, fuck you. Happy New Year, and tang ina mo. Kung sino man magke-claim na ex ko siya, 100%, he's a fucking cheater. Kasi I have the record. I have the motherfucking record. Walang palya. Lahat ng exes ko, they're all fucking cheaters. But no face, no case, guys. He has changed the game for me. And I really wanted this relationship to work. But at that time, I realized na confident lang pala ako pag single. That was my issue at that time. Na confident lang pala ako kapag single ako. Kasi when I'm single, all I actually like, promise, no shit, like, the only thing I care about is what I think. And I really focus on what I think. That's why I make my mentality healthy. Kasi I don't give a fuck kung anong isipin niya o neto o niya. I really don't give a fuck. All I care about is what I think. Do you get what I mean? And that's all that fucking matters when I'm single. But soon as I get into a relationship, I really do be putting them on a fucking pedestal. Like, now I actually consider what this guy thinks. Do you get what I mean? And because of my past traumas, a man's brain, for me, now I just gonna, like, this point of view is already fixed. That's why I'm back on the podcast. But we're talking about at this time period why I wasn't doing the podcast. For me at that time, because of my traumas, a male's brain is so toxic. Like, having no face, no case as my fucking boyfriend, hindi ma-accept ng utak ko na kaya pala maging healthy ang jowa. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's actually possible to have a non-cheating boyfriend. And it's my trauma response na now that I'm actually taking someone else's mind into consideration and given na it's a fucking man, na hindi pala lahat ng lalaki ganun mag-isip. And it was really hard for me to accept that because of my trauma. My trauma response na every time I think about kung anong iniisip niya about sa akin, it's all the insecurities na na-wired sa utak ko because of my trauma. Just boom, it activates. And it was really hard to do a confidence-based podcast when I'm going through insecurities. And that's why I put down, I felt like a fucking hypocrite. That's why I stopped the podcast and it said, you know what, let me fucking fix myself. And at the same time, I could actually make sure that this relationship will stay healthy and will actually work. So I prioritize my relationship, I prioritize myself, and I have learned na it was fucking hard. Because I know you guys get what I fucking mean. Pag single ka, you're the fucking baddest bitch. You know, that's me. I could fucking do anything by myself. Pero as soon as I had a boyfriend, ay tang ina, insecure pala ako. Ay tang ina, selosa pala ako. Ay tang ina, may paki pala ako about sa iisipin ng ibang tao, which is siya. And because of all my cheating experiences, it was hard. It was really hard to be confident while being in a relationship. Wait lang guys, pahipak. And just to be fucking clear, guys, see, no face, no case, he has never made me insecure. Just to be fucking clear, he has never made me insecure. Never. As in, he is the sobrang matured, sobrang healthy na relationship namin. And I know you guys know, nakikita naman sa akin, even my family, he is the nicest guys. Pwera usog, touch wood. This is why I keep our relationship private. Because in a spiritual side, for my girlies that is a strong believer of, you know, being spiritually aware, I wanted to keep it private because I am a strong believer na they can't ruin what they don't know. So I keep it private. I keep it to myself. Lahat ng mga ganda, mga good news, I like to keep it to myself. Kasi you can't control the evil eye. Do you get what I fucking mean? You can't control ang inggit ng ibang tao. You can't control the negative thoughts ng ibang tao. That's why I always just wanted to keep it private. And that's why our relationship is like, it's not a fucking secret, you know, but it's private. And I have been enjoying our relationship that way. And I think it got to a point now, it just becomes his character on my TikTok. Now he's no face, no case. And he doesn't mind. At this point, he likes being no face, no case because of the viewers and the comments. He enjoys being no face, no case. He has become his character on my TikToks. That's why he's no face, no case. And yeah. And now that I'm all good, I have fixed it. We're all good, me and him. I'm not insecure anymore. And we're back to who I am. And that's why here's the fucking podcast. So that's the reason why I canceled the Good Baddie podcast. And that is why we have Fennela, the podcast. So, thank you so much ulit guys sa lahat ng mga sumuporta and to everyone that's been asking for the podcast and everyone that's tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung support sa akin. I really fucking appreciate you guys. You guys are my achievements. So, follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram so I can, have you guys interacting to this podcast. And I cannot wait sa mga future chikahan natin. So thank you so much for everyone. I love you guys so much. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much guys for watching this episode. Now, if you want to come and join this podcast and this chikahan, make sure that you follow me on TikTok and just comment any topic you want me to talk about, anything you want me to bring up and mention on the podcast. Just make sure to put the hashtag Fennela the podcast. And if you really want to join the actual chikahan and have this segment where I call you and we can talk about your story, make sure that you follow me on Instagram. And that's it, I guess, right, Uzi? Is there anything you want to say? Thank you for watching the episode. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.